Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loreweek. I am your host, struggling with allergies, Runner. We've been having a bunch of rainstorms here lately, and just, my goodness. It's supposed to rain all next week, and I do mean all next week. That should be fun. I cannot wait. For those of you not aware, this is the 5th. That means the Patreon post is up. Just making sure you're aware of that. Which is, of course, one of the first things I want to talk about is the website. Now, the first thing I'm going to say, we've actually done a lot of under the hood works, and by we, I mean me, Third, and Zalok have all been working on this. Huge props to Zalok and Third. But there is ideally, you shouldn't really notice any difference, other than the fact that it's categorized based on short, medium, and long now. But other than that, you guys shouldn't really notice any difference on the website. However, the way we're actually doing it has very fundamentally changed, and like I said, the under the hoods is substantially different. And it takes a lot less time, so that's neat. Like, at this point, the only way this could take less time is if there was a way to automate updating the website via a text file, and that's just the realm of ridiculous. But yeah, so we've changed a few things. In the interest of honesty, as I think I've mentioned to you guys, it's being altered so that the priority level and how much priority a given run needs is more dependent on the estimated length of a game, emphasis on the word estimated, than basically any other factor. And now you guys are giving me money. Why are you guys doing this to me? 9. Never typed that. Thank you very much, Dragonheart51. I've put that towards Halo Wars. And thank you very, very much, Myron. I've put that towards absolutely nothing, because you didn't put it towards anything. But yeah, since time is one of the main variables that matters to me when it comes to my show, it makes a degree of sense. I probably don't even have to explain the reasoning here, really. Thank you, Shikor, very, very much. I've put that towards Diddy Kong Racing. Now, this is something that's... the way it's designed is very modular. So at any point in time, I could change one variable, just one. And with the change of that one variable, it can completely alter how much priority anything needs based on a relative time. So it's very dynamic, and we're going to be able to change it as we need to. And we're going to watch how it works for the next couple of months and see if things get a little bit too funded. As you may or may not notice, the upcoming streams list has already been updated as recently as 10 minutes ago. I just updated it because Sunless Sea and Last of Us 2 both just got funded. I actually forgot to add one. I just remembered that. Let me go ahead and update that really quick, because there's actually another run I need to put on there, too. List is looking a little big, isn't it? I will also freely admit that the new system is kind of designed to de-emphasize longer games. I am not what you'd call apologetic about that. Let's actually do this. Let's shuffle it. Here. And then we'll do it here. No, it's okay. You're the one who finished funding it, Larry. Otherwise, I would post and say, hey, it's funded. You got it, Myron. Thank you again. There we go. There. Now the list is updated as of 5 seconds ago. I just had to make... I realized I needed to reshuffle around where Last of Us 2 is. Although I could push it up. Do I want to do that? Chrono Trigger and Earthbound are no longer back-to-back, by the way. I want to do that. Sorry, I'm debating here. Because I really am not looking forward to the Last of Us 2 run, so I kind of want to shove that as early as possible. And just get it over with, you know? But I also had another thing that I kind of wanted to do. And that would be I wanted to immediately follow The Last of Us 2 with the Colonel Sanders dating sim. Because I think those two work really well together. And I think that would be a perfect game to recover from The Last of Us 2 on. The catch is Last of Us 2 is a PS4 game and Colonel Sanders is a PC game. So shoving Last of Us 2 to the end of the list makes a bit more sense. But Colonel Sanders, I could just live with it. I mean, that'd be irritating, but I could do that. Huh. Yeah, but I'm not waiting, like, a year max time. Besides, I'm telling you, we're playing Colonel Sanders after we play Last of Us 2. That's just how that's working. You know what? Yeah, let's change this around. So we'll do Legend of Dragoon, because that's already, you know, something I said I would do. And let's go ahead and shove The Last of Us 2 up. Yeah, right there. And then let's put Colonel Sanders. It's going to involve a little bit of rejiggering on my part, but it'll be worth it to play Colonel Sanders immediately after Last of Us 2. Oh, God, I don't know, Chocolate Rob. Do you see that list on the website? That's a good idea, SA2K, and I'm going to shoot myself. Oh, yeah, by the way, suicide. And then I could then recover. So, yeah, here's the idea. So we'll be doing Legend of Dragoon, that's starting tomorrow. Then Last of Us 2, which I'm going to hate. And then Colonel Sanders to just meme and recover from that. And then Castlevania Soten, because it's a frickin' good game, and we could use that to recover. Because that way, if Colonel Sanders somehow isn't funny, which is entirely possible, and if Last of Us 2 is actually terrible, which is very likely, then we'll still have Soten to recover from both with. So I think that's a good idea. It'll involve some rejiggering hardware-wise for me, but I can make that work. I can do that. That's not a huge issue. Just something I prefer not to do. Thank you very much, Canada Banks. Very much obliged and appreciate the sub. Thank you. But do you know where you want to put that? Yeah, Soten's just great. I'm looking for it. And then immediately after that, we'll have Torna, and then Trials of Mana, and then Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. And all of those are console, so we'll just knock those out back to back. Then we'll move on. And you may have noticed I've readjusted the site a little bit, or the list a little bit. And I have to admit, it's an extremely selfish reason why I did so. Because that list is not 100% in order of exactly how it was funded, like, you know, when it was funded. But the sure, I could do that next time. Why not? Now I lost my chain of thought. It's very selfish because I've noticed that what I want to do is I want to do this. Let me just visually demonstrate it. I want to have games I'm not looking forward to or I'm worried about or are not going to be great or are going to be long or sloggy, and then games that are going to be awesome or I'm looking forward to or are much shorter. And all of these variables just kind of going to doing this. So you'll notice we'll go from like Dead Space 2, which I'm probably not going to like, to Chrono Trigger. And then we're going to have Resident Evil 3 Remake and Bioshock, both of which sound kind of and Crosscode, which I'm not sure of, immediately followed by Yakuza Kiwami and Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. That's the logic going into the list right now. And again, that is purely selfish, like I said. It is purely because I am trying to not kill my own morale, basically. And yeah, Resident Evil 3 Remake is supposed to be short and bad. That's all hearsay. I have no idea. I mean, I loved RA2R. So, who knows? Yeah, I'll shove Digimon up. Just for you, Max Time, I will shove it way up. So that's an unknown game, so I don't know if I'm going to like it or dislike it. So why don't we put that right after the Arkhams. So we'll do Batman, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight, and then we'll play Digimon. And then we'll recover from that, one way or the other, with Earthbound. Because Earthbound's amazing. And, yeah, and then that'll be... So that's updated. Just updated 5 seconds ago. Anyways. Words. Also, Frieza, if you happen to be watching the VOD here, one of the reasons I moved around some of the games is to accommodate your schedule as well, so hopefully that'll help out a little bit. Now, the other thing I wanted to comment on is that, so if J15951 or Loxi are present or are watching the VOD, please get a hold of me. J15951 donated for a game called Fusion Fall Retro, which was basically a fan-based emulator thing of an old MMO type thing, which has since been DMCA'd. So since that has been cease and desisted, that game is gone, and for obvious reasons, cannot be played. So get a hold of me, please. The other one is Loxi, who donated for a JoJo game. And when I was looking up for JoJo games, I noticed that there are quite a few of them. If you could clarify which JoJo game you mean in specific, I would be very appreciative. Please and thank you, both of you. Thank you very much, Zechariah Jebediah, for the sub. Very much appreciated as always. And as usual, where would you like that to go? Hang on, I'm not ignoring you, Spartan. If I could pick the next game I wanted to play, from which list, because I got 3 lists so far, which is a good segue into Lore's list. So, we also have this thing called Lore's list. Several people saw it down there, and people are like, what the heck is this? And that's entirely feasible of a question, since it's not the most obvious thing in the world. Code Vein, you got it. Lore's list is the list of games that I would someday like to review, that I actually want to review. You guys helped contribute to that list, of course, but the overall point is those are games that I want to add to the funding list. That list has existed for some time. Now it's visible on the website, and that's the only difference. That's the only change, really. That's it. That's what Lore's list is. That's all it is. There's nothing else to say about it, but several people asked about that. I've been thinking about adding a little paragraph at the top being like, this is what this is, which I should probably do, but I didn't get to do this morning because I spent all this morning getting caught. It's still blank on the website. Really? Is it? Well, let's go ahead and pull up Lore's list here. Hey, look! A giant list of games that's not blank at all. Huh. I don't even know how many games there is. It's an absolutely gargantuan list. And I'm probably missing a few games on this one, to be completely honest. There's no real order to it, as well. It's just... Dragon Age 2, I believe, is in my list. Hang on. Dragon Age... Yep, there it is. Dragon Age 2 is on Lore's list. But it's not on the list, for obvious reasons. Because, for record, the list is still on lockdown. We're not down to the 50 games... Excuse me. 40 games thing, which is a good segue. We're just nailing all these segues today. This is a good segue to the next thing I want to talk about, which is ratios. Well, I'll tell you what, Spartan J, if you look at the website, you'll notice there's a little icon next to several of the games. Those are the games that I have a demonstrable interest in playing. And then there's also the Lore's list, which is all games that I would want to play. So, hit Control F5, Darth Tyron. That should fix it. That should flush your cache. Yep, Sora's totally finally going to be in Smash. Not really, it's never happening. When the floodgates finally open back up, we will have 50 slots of games that can be funded or run at any given point in time. Now, that is... you guys have known that for forever. But what we've been debating a lot more lately is ratio. No, it is not, Pika. Because one of the so the whole point of Lore's list is rewind. The idea is that you guys often put money towards dealer's choice. Now, a lot of dealer's choice run funding has not actually been going to things I would pick, funnily enough. The majority of that goes towards runs that have either a lot of people but not a lot of funding, or a decent amount of funding but not a lot of people, to try and boost them up, to, you know, make sure that runs that are more esoteric are still getting priority. But going forward, those will go towards runs I actually want to play once we open the floodgates again. Now, those runs will be selected from Lore's list. That's why that list exists, to help me keep track of games that I want to play, and I want to review, and I want to lore run. Which, of course, brings me to the overall point, ratio. Because with 50 slots, we need to decide what the ratio is for slots that you guys get and slots that I get. And there's basically any permutation here, although I like to keep it in variables of 5. I've heard 45-5, I've heard 35-15, I've heard 40-10, I have heard 50-50. Yes, that is exactly correct, Ogre, and I don't know if I'd say that says something about me, but that is exactly what Dealer's Choice has been for years at this point. Thoughts? Now, the Halo games, so obviously those aren't out yet. So they're just still waiting until those are all out. Once those are out, those will be pushed into the actual going to be played schedule, and then they will be slotted in somewhere in the same manner that I already described. Oh my god, what are you guys doing? I'm trying to keep track here. I'm not even keeping up here. Let me rewind for a second. Thank you very much, Spartan. I almost banned Max Time on accident because Twitch is stupid. Thank you very, very much for the donation, for the subscription, Spartan. I will put that towards Dealer's Choice. Thank you very, very much, H. Markley, for the sub. Very much appreciate. And thank you, Ciela. Very much obliged and appreciate. Thank you. Let me jot all those down. That'll be Dealer's Choice for that one. Unknown for that one. And unknown for that one. No, what happened was I clicked the list to scroll up, because I have to click it and then scroll up. And apparently, like when I hit to click, the text moved up an inch. And so it clicked on Max Time. And I was like, huh, and the automatic thing is the band bar. Like, there's a bar of various types of bands. There's like 8 different types of bands I can hand out. And I'm like, whoa, don't click. Anyways, thank you very much, Streamlabs. And by Streamlabs, Jesus Christ, wake up, Lore. I mean, Tim and Ash, very much appreciate the support on that one. Thank you. Yeah, what do you want me to do, Gary? Hang on. Boom. Hang on, you guys are going to hear something for a second. It's just Asheron's call. Don't mind it. You're going to hear Asheron's call for a second here. Blinding? Really? Okay. Is that it? Cool. Right back out. Not that I'm playing Asheron's Call with my amazing friend Gary. I would never do that. If you want to know more, though, there's a new server that we've been playing on. Anyways, so... I need to see what Timonash donated for. And I got that Ciela wants to put it towards Halo Wars, but I still don't know what H. Markley wants to put it towards. Give me a second to see what Timonash put it towards. Oh, you're fine, Timonash. It's fine. It's fine. I don't mind. Let's get it over with, right? Let's just get it over with. Let's review it. See what we think of it. No, don't change your name. Thank you. Again, Timonash. I will put that towards Divinity Original Sin 2. Ratio. Now, Hazardous has pasted like 3 times in chat, because I've been trying to keep up here, why he thinks we should do 50-50. I'm going to read these out loud for those of you not reading. First, a lot of other people are also interested in those games. Second, a lot of those games were recommended by viewers, which is very true. And third, it would be easier for me to maintain the highs and lows of fun, sloggy streams that I want to have by having 50 games you guys donate for and 50 games I don't, or 50% that I donate for. I say 50-50, it's actually 25-25. I shouldn't say 50-50 and then say 35-15. My fault. But, yeah. So that's Hazardous's argument for 50-50. Tizara said he likes 35-15. I'm the one who suggested 45-5. Dude, I'm down for random games, Bambler Boozler, but, excuse me, Bamber Boozler. There's no L in there. But that's part of the point of having you guys donate things. I mean, for example, to give a little bit of the mentality here, am I interested in The Last of Us 2? No, not at all. In fact, I despise the very thought of playing the game, and I actively do not wish to play the game. We'll be playing it probably sometime around late this week, maybe next week, depends on how long Legend of Dragoon takes us. I have no idea. It's supposed to be a very long game. But, and yeah, Blue of Alex is suggesting 40-10. I've seen several people say 20-30. I saw one person say 30-20. Sinister Wing suggested something that I did not see. To explain a little bit of what I mean by this, like, if you just look at the current list, we got Legend of Dragoon, Last of Us 2, Colonel Sanders, Xenoblade 2 Torna. Let's scroll down a bit. Digimon, Bioshock Crosscode, Spellforce, Surviving Mars, Age of Decadence, Albion, Pathologic, Plague Tale. Scroll down a little bit more. Ghost Trick, Time Spinner, and Sunless Sea. Now that's 16 games, right? The reason I'm bringing that up is those are games that wouldn't occur to me to play, right? Either they're not in my... Either I've never heard of them in some of their cases, or they're games that don't really fall in my field of interest or whatever, right? And that's one of the reasons why I like the fact that you guys pick at least some of the games that I play, is because I actually get to experience more things, more variety. Duh, right? I mean, the whole point is to be a variety streamer, and that's been my angle for years and years at this point. Putting Canada Banks' donation towards RE3R. No, it's already funded. Canada Banks, I'm afraid I cannot do that. And I don't care about controversy. You guys know me. I don't give a damn. Is the game good or not is all I actually really care about. By the way, I will tell you right now, Last of Us 2 is getting the coffee stream flag, just period. That's happening. I can tell you that right now. So, I'm seeing a lot of suggestions, and I'm seeing a bit of logic. And I think we're just going to have to set up a poll for this. So let me go ahead and do that. Let's set up a long-term poll. This is the wrong straw poll. The other straw poll, the one that actually works, please. Yeah, no kidding. SA2K. Oh my gosh. So, making a poll. Which ratio of your choice versus Lore's choice would you prefer? So we've got, let's see, so we've got 45-5, we've got 40-10, we've got 35-15, we got 30-20, we got 25-25, and we got 20-30. These are all the suggestions I've heard. No, Spartan, I've actually never played the Halo series, so it'll be a new thing for me. I'm kind of looking forward to it. Thank you, SJ. Very much appreciate the bits. I almost said the blitz. Thanks for the blitz, SJ. No, 050 is right out. I absolutely want you guys to have at least some of it. Yeah, the bloots. Thank you for the bloots. Where would you like those to go, SJ? Yeah, Digimon, I don't know what to say what I am on that. Curious, I think, is the best word to put there. I'm very curious. Mass Effect 1. Got it. No. So Lore's List is not something you can add to right now. Because Lore's List is stuff that is just... It would be nice to add to the list once the list is not in lockdown. But the list is in lockdown. So... Also, I didn't actually know about that Sinister Ring. That's hysterical. Thank you, SA2K. Very much for the sub. Very much appreciate and obliged. Thank you. And I'll put that towards absolutely nothing. Never mind. Ocarina Majora. That I will do. Actually, the vault doesn't exist anymore. The vault has literally been deleted. Everything that was in the vault is on the main page right now. Like every time the list gets some slots open, Dakota. No, not no, Gary. No. Although I do need to finish my archiving project for that. I did score Ocarina, but we didn't finish it. And that I should have. I didn't, but it's okay. It's okay. We'll make it work. So where's the poll? So we got 45-5, 40-10, 35-15, 30-20, 25-25, and 20-30. Those are all the ones that have been suggested. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this and do this. I haven't actually made the vote yet. Hey, Javin. Yeah, I know. It's actually one of my things for today. So here is a link to the poll. We'll leave this up for a bit. I mean, the list isn't coming out of lockdown for some time. But do please vote on that one, and let me know your thoughts. Sinister Wing, you mentioned a formula. At least I think you did. I never actually saw a follow-through on that. So many games. So, it's a good question, Blue Off Alex. The way it's going to work, I've already kind of come up with a way to visually indicate this. It kind of depends on what the ratio ends up being. But what I'm most likely to do is, let's say we get down to 40 games, which is going to be the requirement for opening the list, and then it'll be chkung. So what I will do is, depending on the ratio, 25-25 max time. 25-25. It's the one towards the bottom. Because it's 50 slots, so 25 and then 25. Stop calling it 50-50. Words. So it's going to be, there's going to be a nice big obvious sign that this is an empty slot, right? And that'll be visually present on the web page. It'll like if you look at the website right now, and if you scroll down to Ion Fury, it'll look a lot like that, except instead of Ion Fury $4 parentheses 1 parentheses, it'll say empty in all caps. And that's an empty slot. Again, depending on the ratio will determine how many of those are yours and how many of those are mine. But once that becomes a thing, that's how we'll indicate that. And we'll. But that brings me to the next question. So Blue Wolf Alex does ask a good question. Savacom asked this question yesterday too. How exactly are we probably going to hook up actually, Alex Revenue. Is there any chance of me streaming Binding? Good question. Let me add Bindings of Isaac to the Forbidden list really quick. Give me a second. Heaven's Word, that's a good... Okay, that's an allowed pick. I'll allow that pick. Binding of Isaac. Binding of Isaac. There we go. It is now on the Forbidden list. No, Loner? I mean, I guess I could, but... Why? Let me ask that question. How will new games be selected for the list? The same way any new game is suggested for the list. You donate for it. You can't actually suggest a name flat. It has to have at least $1 put towards it, which is not exactly a big requirement. But someone does have to actually put money towards it. Yeah, I'm sure Bindings of Isaac is a perfectly good game. It's very popular in the speedrunning community, but no thank you. Ah, I think I understand, Loner. So the point is, like, let's say you suggest a game. Let's say you suggest Skies of Arcadia right now, and I'm like, okay, well, hang on. Hang on, Sinister Wing. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So you suggest Skies of Arcadia, and I look at that and I say, okay, well, that's a long game. So that gets in the long territory. To be clear, long, medium, and short are all part of the 50 slots, regardless of length of the game. Unless we want to do a weird thing where we do, like, I don't know, 30, 30, 30, maybe. Or that's, excuse me, 20, 20, 20. But I don't think I want to do that. I mean, I guess we could. I guess. What do you guys think? Because the idea is the short, medium, long is more of a visual indicator for you guys. It actually doesn't really have anything to do necessarily with the actual length of the game. It's more for you guys to get a quick, aha, that's a long game, or that's a short game. Yeah, I feel like that's unnecessary, Shiko. I agree. And yeah, as Takoida points out, that would cause some issues. Which I mean, I'm fine with getting some games done, but, like, you know? So yeah, let's not do that. Okay. I still haven't answered Blue Alex's question. We have to decide exactly how the format of the floodgates opening. Now, you're probably thinking, what do you mean, Lore? I've been talking about this for 30 minutes. Let's assume that we just do it without a system in place, okay? So what that means is as soon as the floodgates are opened, the next person to donate, no matter how much they donate, they can donate $1, they have successfully locked in a slot. They have eaten one of those 10 slots that will be open at that point in time with their game. And then someone else can add in, and someone else can add in, and someone else can add in, and very quickly and efficiently, bam, 10. I could see that happening very quickly because, you know, that would be first come, first serve, effectively. Which is the same as having no system. I'm not sure what I think of that idea. The problem is I don't have a better idea than that. Yeah, as Takoida points out, what would happen is the moment that's open, the moment I officially say, hey, it's open, and it's like, okay. and then it's locked in, and then the end. Actually, I'm fine with DMC. If you guys want me to play a terrible game, then we can play a terrible game. That was actually something I was thinking, Blue of Alex, but the way... well, the current method is the list is in lockdown and you can't add games to it, Jobin. So I probably shouldn't have to explain why that method needs changing. Yeah, exactly. As Takoida says, DMC is a bad game, but it's not unstreamable terrible. It's just a bad game. I mean, I actually want to stream Ride to Hell Retribution because I think there's a value in streaming bad games and discussing why they are bad, you know? That's a thing. And especially in the wake of DMC 5, we could really show that DMC is just crap. DMC 2, that game can go to hell. But it's still not Forbidden List worthy. Now, Blue of Alex actually doesn't have a bad suggestion. What we could do is, so we've got the 50 slots, right? And we could wait until the list is way down here. like, 5 or 10 games left on the list. Then open the floodgates. And then let people fill in the however many games on the list, which should take longer than an hour, hopefully, asterisk. Then lock the list down again and let it do this, rather than trying to do this. Someone suggested nominations. I don't think that's going to work, especially since a nomination can only happen if you already donate for it, which would mean either reassignment or refunds. Would be the first time next time. See, the problem with any kind of randomization or nomination thing is the only way someone can put a game into the list is by giving money. And by mere virtue of giving money, that opens up the possibility of if that game does not get added to the list, I now have a problem. Yes, we already played Doom 5, Cool Walker. It was okay. I think Doom 4 was a little bit better, but, That's also true, Sinister Wing. I mean, I'd like to say that's not going to be a huge problem, but at the same time, we have plenty of games that someone has donated a fairly small amount of money towards just to lock it in, and it's just been sitting there for however long. I mean... That's what I was thinking, Below Alex. So, like, say we get down to, just to name a number, 10, then I add in however many I pick, and then the list opens up. Or actually, if we were doing it that way, now that I think about it, if we're doing it that way, what I'd probably do is wait until your guys' list is empty. Completely empty. And the only games that are currently on the list are games I have picked. Lord Dealer's Choice. And then... So, like, for example, the current leading vote is 30-20, right? So, get down to the point where there are 20 games on the list, all of which are my pick, and then list opens up and now there's 30 slots to work with. I was thinking about that, Max Time. The only reason I don't like that idea is because there are plenty of games that have decent amount of interest from one person, or let me actually rewind a second here. Let me use an analogy to explain why I don't like that. There's an old woman. I actually learned this in business class. There's an old woman, and she goes to a grocery store. And that grocery store carries this one thing just for her. She's the only woman that comes in, and she buys that. But she buys it regularly, and she loves it, and it's why she gives that grocery store her business. Under the method that you are proposing, Max Time, that old woman, the store would stop carrying that one item because it's not financially feasible to carry that one item just to get one customer in, right? And while that makes a degree of economic sense, I actually disagree with that, both economically and personally. I have no idea, Random Heroes. It's a good machine. I could probably figure it out if you wanted me to. I've got a Ryzen of some kind. Yeah, bigger stores always do that. And I do disagree with that, for the record. I do think the customer loyalty is worth the slight added cost of stocking something that only one person is buying, but that's just me. Is it Windows 10? No! God, no. What do you take me for? An Apple user? That's a joke. Don't take it that way. Hang on. I'm falling behind on reacting to people. Scrolling up. Okay, so Sinister Wing suggests something that I don't want to do, because that's the exact same problem we had back in the day. Like, that's just an issue. If you remember, back in the day, we used to cut runs from the list. We stopped doing that because nobody liked that, including me. But, that's how we used to do that, and that's what you're suggesting, and I'm just, no. So, not going to do that. We're not going to have a pre-list. Alex does ask a valid question, though. What about runs that just don't get funding? That's a good question. We do have several issues with that. Nobody has donated towards Ion Fury, Tex Murphy, Dead Cells, Mortal Kombat 11, Noida, Dungeons 3, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, Satisfactory, Shenmue. Democracy 3, Fallout 76, Bug Fable, Civ 2, Fist of the North Star. Scrolling down a bit more. Days Gone, Alundra, and MechWarrior 5, except for today, in quite a while. And the point is, do we effectively ever go back and just chop those? Because the problem here is, I don't think there's necessarily a lack of interest in those games. I think it's more that people either don't notice those games, don't know what they are more interested in something else. Now, that's conjecture, but that's been my observation of having done this for 6 years at this point, is that most people will go down the list and they'll pick the first thing that they're interested in and put it towards that. The method we have right now is exactly as I described. Those games are there. They're not being removed from the list. So, they're staying there. Which means if we inevitably reach a point where we have funded all the runs here that have plenty of funding in them, there's going to be a bunch of games that have $4 or $10 or $20 towards them that you guys are basically going to have no choice but to put money towards because the other things are already funded. Basically forcing the donations trickling down, if you understand. Yeah, exactly. Shikor. So this is... I'm kind of fine with that, honestly. I'm kind of fine with not removing games because of everything I just said. And I am totally fine with making sure we keep that one thing for that one old lady who comes into the grocery store. Now, Sinisterwing suggests something that I've considered too, and this is basically the same idea Max Time mentioned. Make there be a barrier to entry for things being added to the list. The catch with a barrier to entry is the only way for that to work is to basically remove subs from the equation. That means the majority of my Patreon viewers, my Patreon supporters, and my Twitch subbers would not be able to add a game to the list. Because the only way for something to be added to the list is for something to hit a one lump sum of, say, just to make up a number right off the top of my head, $20, right? And even if you do a tier 3 subscription on Twitch, that's only $17. And very, 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 very few of my Patreon supporters support for over $20. And if we're going to do a thing where it can build up to $20, then we've got the second list problem all over again. Haven't decided yet, Zach Taft. It is a... I'm really, really, really not wanting to add the pre-list back to existence. I don't want to go back to that system, personally. Like, if you guys sell me on it, sure. Patreon, Anime Penso. Patreon takes about 15%. Twitch takes about 50%, roughly. It's not exactly 50%. It depends on the amount of sub you do, because Twitch is stupid, but... yeah, we have enough list. Someone just donated. Hang on. I'm give me a second. First, it's Ice Tray. Thank you very, very much, Ice Tray. Very much appreciate and obliged. Thank you. I had a thought, too. Ice Tray actually reminded me of it here, but I don't think I'm going to do this, but I just want to share the thought. The thought was the amount required relative to the value of the game, kind of a thing. Let me explain what I mean by that. Let's say someone pops in and says, hey, you should totally play... what's a terrible game? Help me out. Yoda Stories. You should play Yoda Stories. I'm like, okay. And they donate $1, or they give one subscription towards it, which is $2. So, no. Right? But let's say someone sits down and does exactly what Ice Tray just did and drops $25 on it. And at that point, it is entirely more likely that they actually mean it. That this isn't just some random meme or some random troll, but someone legitimately wants me to review this game. At that point, it's something I'm far more inclined to take seriously. Right? And this, you can see why Ice Tray reminded me of this, because he just dropped $25 for Quest 64, which is a bad game. I'm fine with reviewing bad games. That's not really the issue. The issue is if you really want me to do that. If that's a legitimate thing, or if this is just someone who's like, hey, it'd be cool if... The catch, of course, is that goes back to the idea of having a pre-list. Either that or just relying on me telling. Like, let's say, for example, let's use a hypothetical. Let's say the list just opened up on lockdown right now, and there are 30 slots for you guys to work with, right? And let's say Alex just subbed, and he said, I'd like to put this towards Bubsy 3D. Right? And I'm like, no. What would then have to happen is Alex would either have to readjust what he puts it towards, or I'd have to refund him the sub in order to make that happen. And thank you very much, Sean J. I don't know why I said J. I never say J. Thank you very much, Sean. Very much for the bits. I put that towards Bug Fables. Thank you. I could do that. I mean, that's not a terrible idea now that I'm saying it out loud. Have that be kind of a... What do you call that? Manual oversight, basically. Right? You know, when the list opens up, just have me be a manual oversight for certain games being added to the list. Because if I do it when you donate, then I can manually be like, nah. Redirect, right? Well, now, Lufia 2, I'd be fine. You could just drop $2 on Lufia 2, and we're cool with that. I don't particularly want to review Lufia 2, but because that's why it's not in my list. But I've played Lufia 2 before. I've got that. Huh. I need an intern. I need like 3 interns. I do a lot. I don't know how much... this is not a complaint, but I don't know how much you guys realize how much work I put into this show. And it's from Zlartek. Thank you very much, Zlartek. Appreciate and obliged. Thank you. I will put that towards Bug Fables. I certainly work more than I used to, Sarani, that's a damn sure. I kind of like this. So, okay, let's talk this out in one chunk. So, we have 50 slots total, right? We don't open from lockdown until the amount of slots you guys get is down to 0. Now, the actual list will not be 0, because some of my stuff will be on there, the exact ratio you guys are voting on right now. But there will be some stuff on the list that I want to do, my stuff, but no one else can add anything until that's all that's left, right? Once your slots are down to 0, we open the lockbox back up, and you guys can go ahead and donate for new runs again. Then, the amount you donate is relative to how serious you are about the run. That's all unnecessary. Let's say this simply. At that point, I actually manually serve as a oversight into new things being added to the list. Relative to the game, relative to the round of interest, blah, 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 blah. You know, if someone donates for, what's a popular game? BioShock Infinite. That's a pretty popular game, right? So, sure, I'll go ahead and slot that in because I'm sure plenty of people would be interested in that. No issues. You know, someone puts 100 bits towards that, sure, it's in the list, no problem. Well, that's easy, Java. In fact, that's already there. It hasn't technically been implemented in the same way yet, but that is already on the website. Java, of course, doesn't actually look at my website. I've thought about doing a poll, but I don't like that idea for several reasons, ISD. I know, it's weird that I have a website. So, Sinisterwing, I'm trying to understand your question. What if the only user-donated games left on the list has no one donating to it? Oh, I think I see what you're saying. So that is actually a good question. Legitimately. I actually have been planned for that in eventuality for a couple of years at this point. It's never happened. I don't think it ever will. But in the incredibly unlikely likelihood of you guys not donating, like let's say we look at the short list, for example. Let's scroll to the bottom of the short list. Let's say we get to the point where the only things left on the bottom of the list are, Doom 64, Mortal Kombat 11, Gone Home, Dead Cells, Tex Murphy, and Ion Fury. And let's say nobody's putting money towards them. Now, that is astonishingly unlikely. Let me just start with that. But in the off chance that happens, then we just play those games down that list. That's it. That's the answer. Like, if we get to the point where all we've got left is Bug Fables. Yeah, see, admittedly, as Shikar points out, like I said, that is astonishingly unlikely to happen. Because even if we reach a point where there's those 8 games left on the list and nobody is donating towards them, people are still going to be probably donating. I say probably. I shouldn't presume. But the idea is that people will still be donating. And people will look at that list. And if they look at there and say, well, there's nothing there I'm interested in, then they'll put it towards Dealer's Choice. And guess where Dealer's Choice is going to go? Too true, Mr. Rudd. Like, Dealer's Choice means exactly that. Obviously, the intent is for that to go to games that are from Lore's list, but if there's stuff that's not being funded, then that's where that's going to go. That's where that's going to be redirected. So in short, Sinisterwing, that is a good thing to bring up, but it's something I thought about a couple of years ago. So I'm fine on that front. Depends on how many other people pick it up, Zactaft. Stance about games I've already played before. So we just played through KOTOR 2, for example, Javan. And as a consequence, I mean, we've already streamed that game. We already did a lore run on that game. But any game we haven't reviewed is totally acceptable for a game to be reviewed, as far as I'm concerned. That's my stance right there. If you guys donate for, I'm trying to think of a good example of this, Mass Effect 1, then we will review Mass Effect 1. Now, if you donate for Dragon Age Origins, the answer will be no, because we've done that. If you donate for Dragon Age Origins in 5 years, the answer will still be no. It's done. The current system is basically the end. Any game we play under this system is basically the end of playing that game on stream. So when we stream Chrono Trigger, not counting doing Chrono Trigger randomizers in the future, which might be a thing, that's it for Chrono Trigger, right? Now, Jaludo is throwing money at me for some reason. Towards Resident Evil 4. You got it. Thank you very, very much, Jaludo. Very much appreciated as always. Thank you. What about a non-review one? So there isn't really such a thing at this point. So that doesn't really apply. Well, if you donate for KOTOR 2 Restored, I'm still debating that one. And Inquisition could totally be added, yeah. KOTOR 2 Restored. What do you mean about classic runs, Loner? I don't understand your question, I'm sorry. Hang on, Sinisterwing. Like, I'm struggling to think of something that you could ask me to stream that isn't actually a review. I mean, I've thought before about pulling the review off the camera. I've thought about doing that, and every time I've suggested that, you guys have said no. Because one way or another, that's happening. I'm not sure yet, Timanosh. That's the harsh truth. I want to see how many games I could get through in July. So, I actually have Dream Whisper. It's really good. Like, it's actually good. Yeah, see, I'm with Takoida on KOTOR 2 thing. Because as horrible as this may sound, I'm not sure that the restored content mod changes KOTOR 2 sufficiently to warrant another run-through. If that makes any kind of sense. Like, it certainly adds the extra, the HK factory, and it changes around some specific things here and there, like some cutscenes are different. But that's kind of it, right? I'm not sure if that justifies an additional second run of how long was that game? KOTOR 2, KOTOR 2. Another 32 hours on that, right? And yeah, we did already do that on stream during the lore run, so... I don't have a definitive answer for you, Mike Romano. I'll be honest to that. Actually, yes, Bad Diesel. If you look at the site and then hit Control F5, you'll notice that that's exactly what we've done. We actually talked about that earlier. I know you're recent. But the answer is yes, we are doing that. Alex says, do games that aren't out yet count towards the list? Yes. So far, that hasn't been an issue. And the worst case scenario, and I can't imagine this happening, but in the worst case scenario, if you guys suggest, donate towards, and then fully fund 30 games that aren't out yet by the time we get to that point, then we've still got my choice, right? And so we'll just go through my games until some of those games start coming out and opening up slots. I really doubt that's going to be a problem. Actually, I'm an idiot because I just realized that's not how we do things. So any game that gets funded that isn't out yet isn't part of the 50. I'm not considering it as part of the 50. So if you'll notice, if you go to the website, this is just the website edition, isn't it? By the way, anyone on the VOD watching this on YouTube, I'm looking forward to your thoughts too if you have anything to share here. But if you go all the way down to the bottom, you notice there's a locked in page. That page is all the games that are locked in for one reason or another. Those games do not count towards the 50. We could add them as being part of the 50, but I haven't been. You'll also notice that there are two types of games there. There's games like Cyberpunk, which are not out yet. And then there's games like Mario Galaxy 1, which we're waiting on something else to do. You know, we're going to line it up or something. So those are two reasons things go into the locked-in list. So, not super worried about that. I will admit, the way we kind of slot in games from the locked-in list when they get opened, like Horizon Zero Dawn, which you'll notice is actually on that list, is something that I'm just kind of judging on a case-by-case basis. What's most likely to happen, and I think I already kind of mentioned this, is we've got, we're probably going to get through a chunk of the existing, funded runs, and then we'll be in August when Horizon Zero Dawn comes out, and then it'll be like, okay, let's go ahead and shove that into the list because that's been funded for a while. Make sense? But that's going to be a bit more case by case. The Steam release of MechWarrior 5 is supposed to be December, I think. But even that's still a question mark, because last time I checked, they weren't 100% sure of that. Are chill runs still a thing? I mean, we could do a chill run, but we'll be reviewing it as we go. Yes, Zactaft. Is a lore run different from playing a game and reviewing it on stream? Yes. A lore run is a lot more involved. I do a lot more behind-the-scenes work. I do a ton more research on the game. I have a lot more familiarity with the lore of it, and usually a lore run covers a game franchise, not just a game. Not always, but yeah, a lore run, I suppose on camera, a lore run doesn't actually look all that different from a review run. But a lore run is a lot of extra work on my part. It's one of the reasons we're kind of de-emphasizing those. That, and we've kind of run... The amount of things we can lore run on has shrunk substantially. I don't know what I'd do, Sinister Wing, if that happened. So Sinister Wing asked a question. Yes, actually asked this twice, but to say it out loud. What happens if we go down and there's 30 slots to be opened and 30 people donate $2 very, very quickly for 30 games inside of minutes? What happens? I suppose under the current proposed system, then the list is back in lockdown inside of 20 minutes, and it really is a matter of first come, first serve. I don't have an alternate answer to that, Sinister Wing, not really. Not without adding a second list, which I'm very against doing, or another option I haven't even thought about. Like, Lord knows there's probably other ideas here that I just haven't even come up with. I mean, Lord knows you guys tend to bomb me with donations on Loreweek, and under the current system, the most likely time at which these would be opened would be during Loreweek. Like, okay, guys, it's Loreweek. Floodgates are open now. And, and then they'd be open. And then you guys could be like... Yeah, exactly, Max Time. I agree. There's no perfect system here. I don't have a really good alternative option there. Because, like, for example, we mentioned the pre-list. Something that I am really against doing, because this would just be another list again, and several people have already suggested this, is people could start donating for games they want to add the list eventually, right? So, for example, had this, like some people have asked for exceptions to this, and I have said no. But I've had people donate for games like, hey, I want to donate for this game to be added to the list when the list is opened. But all that is a second list again. That's a pre-list all over again. And what would happen under the... Yeah, it's basically the vault at that point. Because what would happen is people would be like, oh, I want to donate for this, and I want to donate for this. And then we'd get this giant list of games that aren't on the list, that is basically the vault, that all have money towards them. And then every time the list opens up again, chunk, 30 games from the vault would switch into the list, and then we'd close it up again. Like, instantly. So, no. That's fair, Max Time. I mean, I agree with you there, too. The whole legal thing we were talking about yesterday comes to that. Now, Von Falkenstein suggests something else. Now, I actually thought about doing this. Sorry, Max Time. One of the options is, rather than having it be 50 as the cap, hear me out for a second. What we do is we empty the list. I think that's a good idea. Blue Wolf Alex had a great idea there, so I'm going to give him credit on that one. But imagine if the list gets emptied, right? So all that's left is Lore's Choice. And then the list gets pulled off a lockdown. And then the list is off lockdown for a week. I'll announce it during Loreweek. Hey guys, the list is off a lockdown. For the next week, you can add games to the list. So, excellent, Kay. Thank you for checking. So then, anybody who has time at any point during that week would then be able to be like, okay, I want to add this one to the list, I want to add this one to the list. And that might involve more than 50 games. It almost assuredly would involve more than 50 games. But then once the week is done, the list gets back into lockdown. And then we work our way back through however much was added over the course of the week. Ideally, I would also probably want to schedule that around wherever the 5th happens. Yes, that is correct, Dakota. Because... well, then that sucks, Dream Whisperer. Because what would happen then is anybody who is a Patreon supporter would be able to be part of that. Now, that would involve some scheduling shuffling, so there might be a period of time in which, like, let's use a hypothetical. Let's say the last game gets funded on Tuesday, and we've finished streaming the last game on Tuesday, right? Ideally, what would happen then is we would wait until Sunday to open the list back up again, pull it out of lockdown, and then that way the Patreon supporters on that 5th, whenever that 5th actually lands, would be able to do that as well as the obvious announcement during Loreweek. I don't think we're going to have a huge issue with it, but that does mean there would be a period of time in which the list would be, you know, just kind of sitting there. But from some rough estimations off the top of my head, I can't see that lasting longer than a week, and I'm okay with that, basically. And that's not even a common circumstance. That's a rare case scenario. Yeah, I know, right, Darth Town? All of a sudden, all the WoW runs are funded. Now, several people have asked a very relevant question. Do we limit how many runs someone can add? My knee-jerk reaction is no. But I think if we're going to do that, that whole manual sifting of what's allowed thing is going to come into play. Because let's say Javan puts his monthly Twitch sub towards 17 games, which he could do, hypothetically. He could chop his $17 into 17 bits and say, here, I put $1 towards each of these 17 games, add it to the list. I'd probably be like, Javan. And I would reach out to Javan personally and be like, yo, dude. Right? Basically, I'm not super worried about that. I think in likelihood, what is more likely to happen is someone might donate towards 2 or 3, or at the absolute most 5 games from an individual person. And that's speaking from experience, by the way. I actually do have a few people who donate towards 2 or 3 or 5 games every month. So that's basically, I'm thinking manual oversight is going to be my answer to how many things a specific person can put in. That's what I'm thinking about that. Someone else asked a question. Hang on. Oh yeah, no, Javan actually asked a question like 30 minutes ago. Yeah, long-term thing. You know me, Vigilant. I already have a plan for conquering the world. I'm never going to, but the plan's already there. Just in case. You never know. Just in case. Sorry, Ventures. I thought someone... I already linked to you. Obviously, I did not. Let me get a link. There you go. So... Listen, when I conquer the world, nobody will even notice. At least until things just start weirdly getting better. And I definitely didn't plan 2020 to make sure everything was primed for takeover. Because people are only interested in a revolution if things are bad. Let's stop talking about this. So... Javan had a suggestion to have a nice, big, obvious indicator of when the list is in lockdown or open. I like that idea. Most likely place to put that, website. Any ideas for a visual indicator? Now, there's 3 ideas that come up to my mind right off the top of my head, just as a visual designer. The first is we could have 2 graphics. One for open, one for closed. That way there's a big thing. It'll be right above upcoming streams. It'll be very top. First thing you see. Everything, it's open or it's closed. One of the 2, right? Second option, only have a graphic if it's open. In other words, you only see the graphic if it's in open. And the other option is you only see a graphic if it's in closed. I could probably come up with something visually. That's not quite what I mean. I have plenty of ideas and options here. I mean, if you look at the actual locked-in image down there, that is literally a padlock. Testing something here. Give me a second. What do you mean, Dartaran? Sorry, I'm looking at how to color a text, which is proving more irritating than it should be. Just give me a second. There. Someone do me a favor and refresh the website. Tell me what you think of that. Real simple. Real basic. But right at the top. And then I could just switch that, probably with blue. And then the list is currently open for whatever. Yes, Sinister Wing. How did you know? Damn it, Mr. Red. I mean, I could actually make an image, Alex. That's easy enough. I would just have to go and design one. My question is just simple text sufficient? Because I forgive me for getting into visual design, but there's really no need for something fancy there. It's nice, big, obvious, and it's red on gray. Where, especially if you're just looking at the website blank, it's the first thing that catches your eye over there on the left. Blong! In fact, actually, I'm curious how that looks on my phone. Give me a second. Pull up my own website here. Okay, yeah, that's really obvious on the phone. Like the second thing you see is the list is in lockdown. I think that's good. I think we're just going to use that. We're good. You're right, Dakota. Get like a really bad, crummy animated GIF there going. Like a dancing mouse. I was responding to something else before we got off on this topic. Okay, so that's right, Darth Tyrant. So what's Darth Tyrant saying? Let's say Dragon Age 4 gets announced before the list opens back up, but we don't have a release date. Would you allow it on the list? Yeah. I mean, we don't have a release date for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 or Baldur's Gate 3. Those are already funded. Well, one of them's already funded. So, yes, is the answer to the question. Deltarune also don't have a release date. So yeah. Okay, I think we're finally done. We've been talking for 70 minutes here. I think we're finally done talking about the website and the systems. I think going forward we will go ahead and go with the week of opening and wait until the list is emptied approach. I think that's how we'll kind of use that going forward. We'll see how that works in action once we get there. Whenever we get there. keeping interest in the poll here. We only have 54 votes. Make sure you vote if you'd like to vote. What's my next topic? So I talked about the ratio, which is the big thing, and we've got lore list, new list. I still haven't heard from J15951 or Loxi. So yeah, let's talk about randomness. I do have a few other things to talk about today. Just a few. Nothing really big. So, Digital Devolver is having an event on next Saturday, a week from yesterday. And that's interesting. We'll see how that goes. It's going to be happening at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, aka when I usually come back from break. We'll see what we're doing at that point in time, but I might go ahead and rehost that live, or I might showcase it the next day, you know, a week from today on Loreweek. Haven't decided yet. We'll see. We're going to play that by ear. But for those of you who, regardless of what I do with it, for those of you interested, that's when and where that is happening. The next thing I want to talk about is Tencent. I suppose want is kind of a strong word, but anyways, the point is, Tencent is making a cyberpunk game to compete with Cyberpunk, or rather to ride on the coattails of Cyberpunk 2077. It's called Code Sin. It looks really bad. It looks basically like a mobile game that is being released on PC and is kinda crap. Also, my personal favorite part of it is that it's actually being billed as a first-person shooter kind of game. But the only gameplay we've seen at all is actually third-person shooter. I feel like there's something off about that, but... Oh, don't worry, Earth Tyrant. They're helping. Tencent and Disney. They're doing my job for me. Yeah, I saw that next time. Either way, it looks like crap. And it looks desperate. And I had to comment on it. Speaking of games sucking. So you probably remember I brought up Crucible, right? Seriously, how many of you remember Crucible? None of you? Okay. So, Crucible is a game that Amazon released to try and compete because they're stupid. We actually had a whole Loreweek discussing why this is an extremely stupid move on their part. I don't feel like repeating myself. The point is that it's a bog standard Fortnite type clone thing. And I'm trying to think how to phrase this because this is kind of an unheard of thing. It's gone back into beta. It was released. It sucked, by all accounts. It bombed really, really hard. And now it's been shoved right back into beta. I'm sure... No, it had a beta to begin with. I'm sure there are other games that have done that. But I have to admit, I can't think of any off the top of my head. That's just... Oh my god. Yeah, in summary, yeah, this is not Burger King. This is Moron King. Yeah, yeah, back in the day, we would call something like that canceled. But no, they're working on it. No, FF14 was completely overhauled from ground up. So first of all, thank you very, very much, Dragonheart. Very much appreciate. Thank you. I will put that towards Halo Wars. Halo Wars 2. So any game... I mentioned earlier, sorry to go back to talking about the list for a second here, guys, but Any game that gets that is to be added to the list has to be vetted. I have to sit down and verify a few things. Those things include, but are not limited to, can I run the game at all? Which is a problem with several games. Can I stream the game at all? Which is a problem for a lot of games. And then, is the game a good stream game? These are the basic requirements. If Halo Wars 2 is only available on Windows 10, then the answer is no. Because I don't have Windows 10. I am physically incapable of playing it. So I'd have to see if it's available on something other than Windows 10, basically. That would be what would be required there. What did I have to verify for Halo Wars? If it was playable, if it was streamable, and if it was a decent game, which it qualified for all these. I already own Halo Wars at this point. Can people ask to verify a game before they download the list? Yes, they won't, but they should. Can I review Windows 10? It's alright. It's not for me. It doesn't add anything new or good that's worth the massive amount of time and hassle necessary to side grade into Windows 10. In addition to the tremendous amount of money it would cost to get a Windows 10 thing, and also the fact that I would actually lose certain functionality. And then I'd have to completely revamp and restructure it to be something that I'd actually want. So basically a large amount of work and effort and money for no return on investment whatsoever. Now that's for me. If you just want if you're buying a new computer and you want an operating system and you don't care, then go for it. Just have Windows 10. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're not interested in customizing the way you have your setup, there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't run OBS and multiple MPQ files and Firefox and 3 plugins for your stream all at the same time, you probably don't care, to be completely blunt. But Windows 10 is a very bad thing for me, personally. Back to random news for a second. So getting to more positive news. Bloodstained, I told you I'd talk about this. Bloodstained got what should be its final patch. And said final patch is really cool looking. So ignoring the fact that they're adding a color wheel, which is basically a die system, so you can customize your setup. They're also adding boss revenge mode. Now, real quick, for those of you who do not know the answer to this question, what do you think boss revenge mode is? I'm sorry, did I say coming out? It is out. It is out as of now. Boss rush, yep, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't own an Xbox, Active. Harder boss rush, yep, makes perfect sense. Maybe multiple bosses at the same time. Mega Man X did that. Nemesis system, that's really cool. But all of those are wrong. What it actually is you play as the bosses and you fight against the main characters. From what I've seen, it actually looks really fun. And I'm actually kind of legit interested in trying that out whenever we get to playing Bloodstained, so... Yeah, it sounds pretty awesome. It sounds pretty awesome. Anyways, so that's cool. Speaking of which, I forget if this is last week or this week, but just to mention it, The World Ends With You is in fact getting a anime, which is being pushed by Funimation, and that's coming out next year. Woo, you know, yay. And speaking of new TV shows, there's a Fallout TV show. Amazon Studios is producing it, and it's being made, Windows 7, pardon. It's being made by the creators of Westworld. I'm not sure what I think of that. I didn't actually see Westworld, so I don't actually know a large amount about it. So I don't know if that's a good indicator or a bad indicator. Unfortunately, we know extremely little about it in terms of details. We know it's Westworld headed. We know that Todd Howard's involved. Yes, really. Along with James Altman. And we know that it's going to be pushed out by Amazon. And that's basically it. That's all we know. We'll see. You know, I've mentioned before that the shift right now is towards television. And I'd just like to point out that for those of you who actually thought that, I'm an idiot and don't know what I'm talking about, I'd just like to point out how many shifts towards television, how many new TV shows are coming out in recent memory. Speaking of which, this is a good time as any to talk about Lower Decks. Yeah, I think I mentioned that last Loreweek. I might not have, but yeah, there's also a Foundation TV show which is being worked on right now, which I'm actually down for. It's just going to be an extremely unusual... Like, if they actually stick to the Foundation format, then the format of the show is going to be wild, but I'm totally in favor of that. Like, imagine having 2 episodes, and then you switch... the third episode has a completely different cast than the first 2 episodes, because that's how that should be done. No, I'm in favor of that. I've actually talked about how I would do a Star Trek show like that, in that exact same format. Have a show that covers, like, 70 years of time, and so you have a story arc, which is 4 or 5 episodes, and then you start another story arc, which is 5 or 10 years in the future, stuff like that. But I'm a weirdo, and I like to do stuff that may or may not make money, so what the hell do I know? Thank you, McBrains. I'm actually really fond of it. I think you're the first person to notice we're wearing a different coat than we have been. This is actually a somewhat recent addition. About a week and a half ago, I got this new one. Man, the shoulders give it away more than anything else, but I'm very pleased with how this one looks. It's probably the first coat that actually looks good on me. Anyways, so Lower Decks. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Lower Decks is a TV show. Oh, it's quite comfy. I had to take out the inner lining. You probably can't actually tell, because otherwise... I mean, this is a London fog. And if you know anything about London fog, you know that they're really good coats, and one of the ways they're really good is they are really good at keeping you warm. So yeah, the inner lining had to go. Anywho. Lower Decks is a Star Trek cartoon show. Now, I mean, how many of you seen Star Trek the Animated Series? Because it's total crap, I'm just going to say that. But at the same time, I'm actually completely down with the idea of a Star Trek cartoon. Or at least a Star Trek non-live action. Maybe a CGI show like Clone Wars or Rebels. Completely down for that. I really am. In fact, I think that would be a better idea than doing a live action show. However, there are several things that worry me about this. First of all, the art style. I'm going to go ahead and just link you this, but if you look right at the top, you can see exactly what the art style looks like. Now, maybe this is just me, but that looks like crap. Like, that does not look like a professional TV show to me. That looks like a budget thing that a person put together. Or maybe is part of a YouTube series or something. I do not like that art style at all. You say it looks like Family Guy. Actually, I would say it looks a little bit more like Rick and Morty. Speaking of which, ding number 2. This is being put out by the Rick and Morty people. In fact, the showrunner is the head guy for Rick and Morty. So... Now, I'm sure that I know there are people who like Rick and Morty. Several of my friends are very fond of the show. I hate it. Like, I actively dislike Rick and Morty. So we've got art style, and we've got Rick and Morty. Now here's the next thing. This comes out in... Hang on a second. Double check the time. Yep, no, I'm right. A month and 1 day. Month from tomorrow, this comes out. It's being released in a month. Do you know how much we know about it? Now, on the one hand, I think that you might think, Laura, you're the kind of person who likes it when they release stuff close to release and they don't announce stuff too early. And you're absolutely right. But the problem is we're at the month range. We should probably know something about the show that's coming out, but we don't. We have an idea who the cast is because they're in that picture. We have an idea who the actors are because they've released who the actors are. We know what the ship's going to look like because they showed it in the picture that I just shared with you. By the way, that's the first time we've seen the ship they're going to be in. Also, I think the ship looks kind of like crap while we're on the subject. We know it's going to be CBS All Access. That's kind of it. Now, I'm going to get into theory crafting here for a second. Because, God, where do I start? So for those of you not aware, CBS is not doing that well. And CBS is actually being... There are people who are actively looking into purchasing CBS, which, honestly, I'm kind of in favor of, depending on who picks them up, as long as they pick it up in a lump sum. I think Lord Reloaded has talked about this, too, on his show. But the idea is, if someone buys the rights to, say, all of Star Trek, okay. You know, I'm actually fine with that, as long as whoever picks them up is going to go ahead and do something with the IPs, right? And are any of the buyers worth a damn? Well, is my answer to that. Like I said, basically this does not look good. From a perspective of someone who cares about the economics, and for someone who cares about Star Trek, this does not look good from either perspective. I have a very strong feeling that the main reason CBS has been shoving Star Trek lately is specifically to try and stave this off. Now, this can work. This has worked in the past. I can actually name a company where that exact strategy worked in the past. Blizzard. For those of you who don't remember, this is actually a really complicated thing, so forgive me for summarizing a little bit. But Blizzard was actually doing pretty badly financially, mainly because the company that owned them was going through a bankruptcy when World of Warcraft launched. One of the reasons World of Warcraft launched early, and in the fairly unfinished state that it was at launch, was because they were being pushed to in order to help satisfy those debts. They then pushed WoW hard for years in order to pull that company out. Vivendi is the company out of bankruptcy. And then make it so Vivendi couldn't actually get procured by someone else, because people were attempting to poach them too. And then Activision bought Blizzard. But that, moving along. The point being, CBS has not been doing well for a bit now. This is not really new, and this year has hit CBS pretty badly. There's also the problem that it's entirely possible that the people actually in charge, the people who actually make these kind of decisions, are looking at this and thinking, okay, CBS is screwed, or who cares if it's screwed or not? Why don't we try and get as good a deal as possible so we can get as big a paycheck on the way out as possible? Which is probably the truth. I don't want to be cynical here, but that's extremely common. So pushing out all this Star Trek stuff all willy-nilly would make sense. Greenlighting all sorts of stuff may actually cost the company money, and in fact put CBS more and more in debt, but it could inflate the perceived value of CBS so that when CBS is sold, the people who made those decisions make more money out of it, even though the company itself is going to still be in a phase of debt, because that's how life works. It's okay, they can always declare bankruptcy like Frontier did, and then get someone to bail them out. Anyways, the other thing I want to mention here is it feels like there's some internecine politics going on at CBS. Now, obviously there are. I mean, duh. Of course there's internal politics going on. But what I mean by that is I feel like what we're seeing is the consequence of people who are actively disagreeing with each other quite a bit. So I feel like someone is deliberately sabotaging certain efforts, like this show. a lot. I don't know how to really explain this, so please forgive me for just speculating effectively in a vacuum here. But from everything I have seen and read, it feels like this show in particular is being pushed by someone who is being given a bone specifically to fail. You know what I mean? I'll just try to describe it. Sometimes someone in a corporate sense will say, here, you can go ahead and do your project that you've been pushing for, but I'm going to sabotage it to the extent that it will almost assuredly fail, thereby proving me right. And, you know, getting you shut down and readjusted and all that fun stuff, you know, that kind of a thing. And that's what this feels like. That's really what this feels like. Because this is... this show does not have studio backing. Regardless of all other speculation, I can tell you that with absolute certainty. They are not backing this. The marketing department is not doing their job. There is not the kind of support that we should have for this, for a new Star Trek show that's coming out. So one way or another, this is being sabotaged. I don't know if it's being done on purpose. I don't know if it's just stupidity. I don't know if it's lack of communication. But one way or another, this is being chopped off at the knees. And I'm not sure what that means for the actual show. Do I think we should watch this anyways? I mean, I don't even have CBS All Access. However, my answer is still yes, actually. I do think we should, because here's my answer. I mentioned how the sabotage thing to make it fail thing, right? Every so often, about I'd say 1 every 10 times, something has been set up to fail and then it still succeeds just because the people involved care that much to put out as good of a product as they possibly can. And people look at it and are like, oh, that was really good. And it spreads and it works out, right? It doesn't happen all that often, like I said, but that does happen every now and again. Yeah, Dragon Age 2 is actually a pretty good example of this. So, it is entirely possible that this show will actually be good. And there will actually be funny or interesting or whatever they're going to do with it. And that might actually help it to salvage it. I wouldn't know. My schedule's a little busy right now, but I'm going to be following this one with some interest because... you know, unfortunately, I don't actually think we have a release date for Discovery Season 3. I can look that up. Yeah, if it wasn't... the irony is if it wasn't on CBS All Access, it would be more likely to succeed. How's that for sad? Of course, the reverse is also true. If this is actually good, then that is more likely to make CBS All Access succeed. Then again, I think CBS All Access was a mistake to begin with, and I stand by that. And nothing has changed my mind on that so far, so... Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. You're not giving me just a straight time, aren't you? Yeah, we have no idea when Season 3 is happening. Let me just summarize people who are meandering about, well, we're going to be working on it eventually, and we need to work on Picard. And, you know, yeah, no, we don't know. I agree, Alex. Ironically, I feel CBS is banking hard on Star Trek to sell CBS All Access. Correct, Zach Taft. Because we've got Picard, Discovery Season 3, and this. Don't forget, they've also got the other show, the Section 31 show that we haven't heard much about because it might never actually happen at this point. But those 3 shows are all being pushed on CBS All Access. Now, I can't comment on the quality because I haven't actually watched any of it yet. But, it feels like they're at least trying to push people onto it. Which makes me kind of wonder. I don't know, guys. I mean, it's not like something like another Netflix can work, but the way that works is if you own or are producing an absolutely insane amount of content that's going to be worthwhile for the people who are going to be switching off of Amazon or Netflix or Hulu or whatever. And CBS All Access is not that. The only reason Disney Plus has any chance of succeeding is because of the absolutely insane amount of content that you can get on Disney Plus. And even that, you know. Anyways. That's actually all I have to talk about there. And yeah, Disney is also producing new content regularly. So that's today's Lore Week. Thank you for joining me for an hour discussion about the list. Good discussion, though. Good discussion. It's a good back and forth.